Welcome to Intel Vision 2022. We are coming to you live from Dallas. We are back in person and streaming around the world over the next 2 days, bringing you a look at the future of business and technology, leadership insight, demos, and so much more. Hey, I'm Christoph Schell, Intel's new Chief Commercial Officer. I'm so pumped that you could make it. Before we go to the keynote, I really wanted to come in and have a sneak preview at our showcase. Come on in. Come with me, I'm late, but I really want to show this to you. Look at what we've built with our customer and partners, just for you. Come on, I'm really late. You have Dell here on the left side. Check them out when you come down here. Come on. Let's turn right here. Look at this tractor, a very close relationship with Blue and White Robotics and Intel. Come on, keep going. Ben, why are you still here? You should be up there. Go on up. After all this hardware, let's talk about software. Granulate, over here. How are you doing? One of the latest acquisitions of Intel. You should check this out. And right here we have GPUs. We'll spend a lot of time on GPUs today. How are you? Good to see you. Then over here, 12th generation laptops and our CPUs inside. They're really cool. Check them out. How are you?
Hi.
Good to see you.
Great that you're doing real-time defect detection.
Great. I have no time. See you later. Bye-bye. Oh, and now robotics, hardware and software in here. No time. See you later. Madeleine, I need to rush. Please tell them about Intel Vision 2022. See you later.
You got it. You better hurry. You're running late. Hi, everyone. I'm Madeline Littrell. We are so excited to be back here in person. But don't worry, if you couldn't make it here physically, stay tuned over the next couple of days for all our amazing keynotes, business insights, demos, special guests, and more. I'll be your host, and I'll be bringing it all to you live. All right, Christoph, what do you say? You ready to kick off the show?
Madeleine, I'm here. I made it. Come on in. Come on in. Sorry, I'm late. How are you doing? Good morning, everyone. How are you? Good to see you. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for coming. How are you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm so happy to be here. I made it. Welcome to Intel Vision 2022. Let's get the show started. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger.
Hello, hello, thank you. It is exciting to be in person. Does that excite you? Excites me. And to those who are joining us virtually, love to have you online, but to be here in this hybrid event, to be back together, super, super excited. So thank you for making this incredible hybrid event happen today. Today, I hear from my leaders. You're going to hear from my leadership team. We're going to hear from our numerous partners that we have with us, and of course, our customers. And we're going to talk about how we're applying technology, how we're delivering the resources and scale to enable you to capitalize on the power of technology. We're going to share how the Intel solutions and services are building blocks for your digital transformation. All of us are adapting to this new environment where the future of work, and as we return to work and as we figure out how we can continue to have access to the services and data, we're seeing this insatiable demand for compute and this increasing drive to deploying that at the intelligent edge and taking advantage of AI and inference solutions. Today, the pace of technology is the fastest of your life. It's also the slowest of the rest of your life, right? And I've been saying that for a couple of years, and it just proves the point that the speed and impact of technology in humanity and how every aspect of our human interaction has become technology-centric. And today, I believe we're sitting at this precipice of the digital renaissance, where we're challenging the complexities of tomorrow and how we're interconnected and how we rely on leading edge technologies. But we also need to partner across industries borders and disciplines. And we've seen through the supply chain disruptions just how intertwined our environment and how important it is for us to collaborate in new and effective ways. And we're seeing this pace of technology adoption increase every day. A historical example or two, first, when we think about the smartphone, launched in 1994, and today, 50% of the world owns one. In 1990, less than 1% of humanity had a persistent connection to the internet. Today, over 62%. By 2030, expected to be 90% of the planet is connected. Truly, we'll have connected everyone and everything. As we've seen in the pandemic, sometimes it takes a week to make a decade of progress, but often in periods of relative calm, when there isn't any fundamental disruptions. We don't have the social will, the legal structure, the economic power to make these dramatic changes. Sometimes it takes a decade to make a week of change, other times a week to make a decade of change. And we see that we're just getting started with this digital transformation that has been induced by this incredible period of history when everything has been upended and our status quo requires a new and fresh view. And we have this choice to drive, this opportunity to make these fundamental choices, not between what was and what is, but what is and what will be. Technology has been this powerful bridge in this COVID period of time. It has enabled us to navigate through COVID. But what happens if it all goes dark? When disaster strikes, we can lose access to our technology. Hey, my household, we can barely live if the Wi-Fi is not working. In these moments, we realize just how fragile that bridge can be. We're excited to show you real time here how we're working with the industry on next generation 5G solutions. We have a partner, Taiwan Pegatron, a leading device manufacturer, a great partner for many years, but as many of our partners, and particularly those in Taiwan, they've just grown up. And now they're delivering in larger suppliers and expanding beyond their initial roots. And in this case, they're reaching into 5G networking, and not just an opportunity to grow a new business, but also to do a good thing. And what they've done is they've designed for extreme conditions. Think of it like earthquakes, tornadoes, natural disasters where the comms infrastructure would be knocked out. And imagine that you were a first responder. You're showing up for a disaster relief situation and you have no communications. And built on Intel platforms and software technologies, Pegatron has developed a portable 5G solution for base station and for emergency responders, where they can set up a network but also connect and provide satellite connectivity for backhaul. And so here we have, in the size of a small suitcase designed for extreme conditions, a base station. And up here we see the radio link that they can set up, the link to the outside world. And imagine the sight of a massive flood and trying to rescue the stranded people that would have. This network was set up in less than 1 hour. Over here we have a 5G phone that we're setting up, so 5G connectivity, special devices, general devices. Also we have a 5G camera. And we can see our camera feed here. Wave, everybody. Okay, so show some more life. It's been a long time since we've been together. Yeah. Hi, Mom. We also, up here, we have our 5G drone, right? Imagine that we're able to bring 5G Wi-Fi connectivity to the drone environment as well. And we have volunteers. I stole a few people from the audience today, so if you can bring up your phone here and you can wave at me. There we go. Act alive. Come on. You're supposed to be good volunteers. Yeah, that's better, right? So we see them up on our screen here, right? And we can imagine these are first responders, right? Do you all have your CPR certifications? I hope so, right? and showing up and how they can connect, organize a resource. And one of my favorites here, we have our Dell Rugged, fully waterproof, fully mil-spec laptop. And it's capable of everything, right, in every situation. I'm not sure if it's teenager-proof, though. And it's also built using our latest Intel vPro technology. And this 5G network is capable of delivering hundreds of megabits per second. And if we bring up the screen here, we're operating right at about 900 megabits per second. So clearly the high bandwidth requirement that's needed for a first responder platform. And you can think about this as a blueprint for next generation commercial 5G vRAN deployments. And this could be in a variety of different business settings where you set it up for a smart factory environment, smart city environments. And as Pegatron said, they couldn't have done this without the partnership with Intel. And we have a great breakout session today where you can see this and many other use cases in action. Clearly, this demonstration is just one example of how the challenges that face us and the many opportunities that we have for innovation, discovery, and improving our quality of life. And as we think about these, I sort of settle on the 4 superpowers are driving these forces of innovation. And just as we saw in our 5G demo now, pervasive connectivity. Everyone and everything is connected. Universal connectivity that's enabling customers to collect, store, right, access and analyze data anywhere and be able to take advantage of those services. But it's also driven by ubiquitous compute. And think about, since the 4004, everything has become a computer. From the PC platform, as Andy Grove called, the ultimate Darwinian device where human and technology interacts. But now it's in our smartphones, our tablets, our wearables, the devices that, everything we touch is becoming a computer. Literally, compute is now how we experience the world. But behind that sits ubiquitous infrastructure, and I call this cloud to edge. In the cloud now, right, you and I can have a high-performance computing immediately at our disposal, and with the unlimited reach of the intelligent edge, we can have low latency, high bandwidth, real-time inference capabilities anywhere we want them. And this delivery of new services as a result of large as well as edge is incredible. New visual experiences, streaming services, cloud gaming, unlimited and visual workloads. But finally, AI, making intelligence of it all, bringing it all to life with actionable insight. And we just see this explosion of use cases. And if you're not applying AI to every one of your business processes, you're falling behind. Literally, we see this across industries, and, in medical, in retail, and customer interactions, and factories, and energy monitoring. And we have to make sure that humans take advantage of AI, but also humans make sure AI is better and ethical as well. Each of these 4 superpowers is impressive on its own, right? But when they come together, wow, that is magic. They reinforce and they amplify. The more connectivity, the more data, the more services, and as they come together, they're accelerating and driving. And as a result of that, we're driving at Intel this torrid pace. We're moving rapidly with decisiveness. And when you think about torrid, it's a word about speed and energy and heat. But in the Intel context, we're also applying a vector of that energy for setting a direction into the future. We believe the world is at this strategic inflection point. And as Andy Grove used to talk about strategic inflection points, it's this moment in time where things can either go really incredibly well or incredibly poorly, based on the decisions we make in a short period of time. We see transformation as inevitable. It applies to all. Today, every single business, every single function of life is becoming a technology business. And businesses have been struggling to understand how to stay ahead. Our supply chain disruptions, right? Ongoing pandemics and now endemics, and how we're changing the nature of our workforce and how we live and work together. Throw on top of that geopolitical uncertainty and the potential for inflation and recession as well. These are challenges that we are all facing. And our team is excited to show you how we're developing the technologies that enable you to transform through that period of time. And we're turning these into solvable problems for today and for tomorrow. Christoph,
it's good to see you again.
Good to have you with us.
Good to see you. Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Please. So, you talked about Torrid, and I've walked through the doors of Intel 8 weeks ago.
You're still running.
I'm still running, yes. I'm still trying to catch up. But Torrid, I think, is a good word to describe my first 8 weeks, but I also think it's a good word to describe the passion, the energy, all that we do for our customers. And that's what we're here for, to talk to our customers today. I think for me as a new employee, when I walked in, I thought it was all about chips, but then I realized on my second day...
We are a chip company, but it's not just chips.
I realized we have 17,000 software developers.
That's more than I had when I ran a software company, Christoph.
This is crazy, absolutely crazy. So, I mean, the opportunity we have to use software to stitch everything together, to create these ecosystems of partners, of system integrators, of developers, is absolutely phenomenal. And I think, we talked about the disruption in the global markets. You just touched on it as well. And there is an unprecedented demand for chips, but there's also a lot of disruption in the supply chain. Yeah, and when we think about this period of time, chips have never been so sexy, as I would say, right? Our manufacturing capacity, the world needing more chips. But we've also said they don't just need more chips, they need a better supply chain. We said we need a diversified, secure, geographically balanced supply chain. And this has been a huge component of our strategy, as we call it IDM 2.0, that we will build leading edge capacity in US and Europe, aiming at satisfying the needs of those 4 superpowers at scale, which is driving this insatiable demand for compute and higher performance compute. And we are only getting started at delivering that supply capacity, geographically balanced, resilient supply chain. I think after 2 years of COVID, we are all supply chain experts by now. But some are really better than everybody in the room here. And one of them I have here, Keyvan Esfarani. He runs supply chain for Intel, and he is with us remotely. But Keyvan, how are you doing? How are things looking from a supply chain point of view?
Hello to everyone at our first ever Intel Vision event in Texas and online around the world. Here at Intel, we are taking both the short-term and long-term actions to increase global capacity and improve the global supply chain. In the short term, one advantage of our manufacturing strategy is that we can adjust quickly to customer needs and remix which products are coming off the line based on changing demand. For example, in Q1 alone, we remixed close to 3 million units of CPUs based on shifting customer demands. It is not just about Intel products, though. The digital renaissance has placed tremendous strain on the supply chains all around the world for displays, power supplies, substrates, and many other critical components. To mitigate constraints, Intel collaborating closely with the ecosystem throughout our supply chain, with our suppliers, with their suppliers, and with our customers. One recent example would be how we have worked with our substrate suppliers to develop a more efficient manufacturing process, basically helping them to help us, which has benefited Intel directly, but also our customers. And in the long term, our mission is to make sure we are not limiting the growth of our customers by lack of our capacity. And strategy is not what you say, it's what you do. As we have previously announced, we are investing significantly in expanding our manufacturing capacity in both US and Europe. In the US, Intel is building 2 leading-edge fabs in Arizona and expanding our advanced packaging technologies in New Mexico. And we announced the construction of a leading-edge chip manufacturing facility in Ohio, the Silicon Heartland, which will help build a more globally diverse, resilient, and sustainable supply chain ensuring reliable access to advanced semiconductors for years to come. We also recently announced a landmark investment spanning in Germany, France, Ireland, Italy, Poland, and Spain. This is a holistic investment strategy to drive innovation and create a world-class chip ecosystem across Europe. And with Intel Foundry Services, Intel is opening its fab doors wide to serve the needs of our customers across the globe, many of whom are looking for more geographical balance in the semiconductor supply chain. Together with our ecosystem partners, we will build a flexible, resilient industry that provides opportunity to our customers to pursue their business strategies. Thank you, folks, and back to you, Christoph and Pat.
Thanks, Keyvan. So
he has a lot of concrete trucks working for him.
He does, and he's actually leading the change. He is really getting it done. So, Pat, this was a great opening. Thanks a lot for the discussion we had, and you will come back later.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christoph. Take it away.
Okay, see you later. So, I'll promise he will come back later. Let's shift. I would like to talk about the foundation of it all, and that's the PC. And no better person to talk about this with me than Michelle Johnson-Holthaus, and she leads our client business. Michelle, come on out.
Hey, buddy.
How are you doing?
Great to see you.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Michelle, the
Krista.
good old PC.
Yeah.
The foundation of it all. What are you seeing out there?
Well, technology is at the forefront in the center of everything that we've all been facing over the last 2 years, and it starts with the PC. You know, the PC is really the human touch point that we rely on to focus, create, connect, and drive our business forward. And we saw this during the pandemic, and I truly believe it's here to stay.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, this hybrid work that we are now entering is, again, all centered around the PC.
It is. And you know, you and I worked together quite a bit over the last 8 weeks, and we're on our phones all the time.
Yeah.
And I would never say that a smartphone isn't an essential tool for work, but I would really encourage you all to imagine what the last 2 years would be like if you had to work from your phone. You couldn't have been productive and connected while remote without a PC. And that rumbling tells me I think we're spot on there.
Yes.
PC is the foundation for all. Whether you're doing chip design, software, hardware, metaverse, it really does enable the workforce of the future and the work that's possible.
Yeah, and I actually think we got a lost generation back. You know, my 19-year-old lobbied me for 2 laptops when she went to college. She couldn't do it on her smartphone, so there you go.
Absolutely. And digitization is everywhere. It's been accelerated during this pandemic. And when you think about your daughter, I think about my son, who's also a freshman in college. It really has transformed the way that we live, learn, and work. It's different than it was years ago, and we're not going back there. And as we think about organizations and entire industries that really had to accelerate the adoption of technical and digital technologies to really deliver the strategic imperatives that they were drawn to.
It's definitely true. My first 8 weeks walking through the doors at Intel that's how we work now. So we have some people in the office, some people at home, and it goes way beyond the PC. It's workflows, it's applications, so there's a lot going on.
There's so much happening. And when we think about all of us, as you went home for the pandemic, most of you probably thought you were going home for 1 to 2 weeks, right? Okay, in one weekend at Intel, we had to transition tens of thousands of employees to remote workers, from being in the office to being at home. We wanted them to be safe, we wanted to keep Intel operational, and at the same time, we had to manage and scale a global supply chain for this insatiable customer demand that no one saw coming. And we had to do all of that from our living rooms and our kitchen tables.
Yeah. So now, as we move on and go into this new normal of some at home, some in the office, what do you see IT departments do?
Yeah, you know, I think IT is really struggling. And they're not struggling because they're not partnering with us and know what to do. But how do you deliver a secure environment in the office, at home, while meeting employee expectations? Employees expect a better PC experience than they've ever expected before. And they're expecting their leaders to deliver that PC. And you and I have talked quite a bit about this. There's over 140 million commercial PCs that are 4 years or older. So think about the machine that you had 4 years ago. it's probably not the device that you need to be successful today. And so all of that hardware needs to be upgraded, software tools, infrastructure, et cetera. So it's a massive opportunity for all of us.
So what Michelle and I do when we talk about that system of silicon and software and apps and workflows, we actually think about personas. And we think about these personas in different verticals, in different industries. And one discussion we had was actually around healthcare. I mean, just all of you, think about healthcare in the last 2.5 years. The transformation that healthcare had to go through, and actually what healthcare delivered. Absolutely massive. But this will continue. So forward-looking, what is happening in the healthcare industry, and what are we doing for them?
Yeah, it's been changed dramatically, as you have said. And if you'd like, I'd like to take a deeper dive into that.
Jump right in.
So as Christoph said, over the last 20 years, we saw some digital transformation in healthcare. But over the last 2 years, the advancements in healthcare from a digital perspective have been absolutely astounding. Telehealth by physicians jumped from 25 to 80%. Remote patient monitoring by physicians up 2x. Healthcare professionals are using video conferencing 2x more. I think each of you can probably reflect that you've engaged with your doctor in a different way over the last 2 years. And that's here to stay. We're not going backwards. And that's just a few of the trends. Tomorrow, our CTO, Greg Lavender, will talk about AI technology that's finding brain tumors and driving better patient outcomes. Technology is at the forefront of healthcare, and it's here to stay. And hopefully we see this pace of innovation continue forward. And no one knows this transformation like the enterprise solution architect from Intermountain Healthcare, Rob Summers. Rob, please join me on stage. Welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for the privilege.
For those of you who don't know Intermountain Healthcare, they've been a leader in digital transformation, and they were already on this digital journey and leading it. But the pandemic made you have to go even faster. So maybe can you talk a little bit about how vPro Technologies helped with that transition?
Love to. Thank you. It's great to be part of this, and truly an in-person event again after the pandemic. This is wonderful.
It is.
And thanks for the opportunity to share our story. So, and yeah, thanks for calling out and acknowledging that we have been, Intermountain Healthcare has been a leader in the telehealth space. We've been a pioneer there for over 8 years, really. And the pandemic, so we were a little bit ahead of the curve in that regard. However, we had our own in-house developed telehealth platform. It was built on Microsoft Skype for Business. And many of you are aware that Microsoft announced the plans to sunset that product. That kind of forced our hand a little bit into partnering with another telehealth provider, the build versus buy strategy and whatnot. We decided to partner up. And this was just prior to the pandemic that we were to begin implementing this new telehealth platform. So even though we had those years of experience, and we were grateful that we did, we ended up migrating over to a new telehealth platform at that same time. Now, telecritical areas as well as clinical critical areas, ICUs, med-surg units, things like that that were over capacity, really just kind of added insult to injury in terms of that migration. Now, our new telehealth platform at the endpoint required us converting all our endpoints, 1,500 in our fleet, and those are spread across 23 different hospitals, many of them remote, rural hospitals as well. Introduced a problem, if you will, and we realized that, as part of this new telehealth platform, we had to convert those 1,500 endpoints over to a Linux-based kernel. So I reached out to our Intel account team, and in short order, we had a POC stood up, did our necessary cybersecurity reviews and such, and the POC was a flying success, and we knew how we were going to do this to convert. Now imagine, sending in a technician in PPE gear into a patient room, one of those ICU rooms, to touch equipment. With vPro, we didn't have to do any of that. We could do the conversion remotely, and it worked very, very well, I'm happy to say.
That's absolutely incredible. And it was so important because People needed better access to healthcare. We needed to be able to do that remote monitoring because we know there was a global shortage of PPE. And so using it to switch out hardware is probably not the best usage.
Absolutely. Yep.
So there may be others in the audience today and online who had to go through a similar journey and transformation. What advice would you have for them?
Partner up with Intel if you're not already. I mean, the fact that you're here says you're probably already a partner. On that note, I hesitate to bring it up in this setting because I don't want to get our account and technical team into hot water. But when I reached out to them, I've been in the industry a lot of years, and I was expecting a statement of work, consulting services, engagement, things of that nature. I'll tell you, our account team stepped up every step of the way because it was the right thing to do. And we had this pilot, if you will, stood up within 5 hours lapse time. It was phenomenal, and we were able to configure the scripts, push them out, ironically through other device management tools, and then get them enrolled into vPro and whatnot, and then flip the switch to get those converted over. And it was flawless. It was perfect. The only time, incidentally, that we had to enter in a patient room was when there was a hardware failure. That was it. We were able to do everything else through bare metal management that vPro provided.
That's fantastic. And when we think about the 41,000 physicians in Intermountain Health, the 23 hospitals, to be able to do that, get it up and running in 5 hours, I think really shows the partnership. And what we hope as your partner is the way we show up every day. So thanks for coming, Rob.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Michelle. Thanks so much.
I think you can all agree the work that Rob and his team at Intermountain Healthcare are doing is absolutely amazing. And it was all powered by the vPro platform, powered by our 12th generation Intel Core processor. And our 12th generation core processor delivers our most scalable platform, offering you price point and performance that will enable your own transformations. So today, I'm very excited to announce the launch of our 12th generation Intel Core HX mobile workstation processor. It's a beauty. It's our final product in our 12th generation family. It's created for the professional who needs maximum performance and flexibility. It offers up to 16 cores of performance and up to 5 gigahertz speeds, delivering unrivaled performance. I invite all of you to learn more about this amazing product, vPro, and other amazing things happening in the client group at our Modern Client Biz Computing Insight right after the keynote. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now we talked about the future of work. Let's talk next about the future of compute and what it will mean for all of our lives. And there is no better person to talk about the future of compute and data centers than my colleague, Sandra Rivera. Come on out. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Have a seat.
Thank you.
This is great. I think I'm going to put one next to my desk in the office. It's really cool. So, Sandra, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you.
How are data centers helping our customers today? Let's start there.
Well, the data center provides the foundational infrastructure for our customers to process all of the data that continues to grow every year and to provide the near real-time insights and intelligence that customers need. By 2025, IDC predicts that the amount of data that is being created and replicated will more than double. And our job at Intel is to make sure that we help customers make sense of all of that data in standing up services that billions of people around the world can leverage daily. We're working with customers to deploy multi-cloud solutions, deployed both on-premise and in the public cloud infrastructure, leveraging cloud as an architecture, as a business model, as a deployment model, and as a service. And we're focused on solving those problems for customers every day.
I think for us, the best outcome is if our customers can focus on running their business, and we help them run the infrastructure. Is that correct?
Right. That's right, Christoph. We really provide the hardware and software solutions that are easy to deploy and manage, from the cloud to the edge to the enterprise, all the way out to the client, helping customers accelerate their time to market, reduce their total cost of operations, and importantly, accelerate their time to revenue. And a great example of this is the work that we've recently done with online ticket provider StubHub, that wanted to transition their business applications from on-prem to bare metal servers running on Google's cloud. In moving to the cloud, StubHub was able to expand their capacity to meet their growing customer demand while lowering their overall IT spend. And they were able to gain 64% performance improvement while lowering their overall licensing costs. And since their business applications were already running on Intel architecture, their transition to the cloud was a seamless transition. And it's really this ubiquity of Intel architecture that gives customers like StubHub the opportunity to flexibly tailor their individual workloads while protecting their software investment.
As the team has worked me in my onboarding through our funnel and all the opportunities we have in the data center, one observation I have is that most opportunities are not off-the-shelf solutions. I mean, there's a lot of customization that is required. Can we do that?
We can. In fact, Xeon will continue to be the compute platform running that can scale across the broadest range of workloads. But we complement Xeon with additional compute architectures like the infrastructure processing unit, or the IPU, which can help scale customers, optimize and efficiently scale their infrastructure to run an increasing number of workloads. And these IPUs were co-developed with large-scale customers like Google and Microsoft that are looking to customize their own infrastructure to better serve their customers. And this week, we unveiled that we're extending our IPU roadmap all the way out to 2026, and including a 400 gig version of the IPU available in 2024. And you can hear a lot more about that this week over the next couple of days at Intelvision.
I think one additional point, I mean, I touched on the 17,000 developers, did I? The software developers? I think I did. Greg, our CTO, he says that software is the glue that really connects the soul of the hardware. Do you agree? Is that how we think about it?
Yeah, I actually like when Greg says that. We know that nearly every single customer can unlock greater value of our underlying hardware features through software optimizations. And we work with customers to ensure that they can actually optimize those workloads to run more efficient infrastructure. Some work that we recently did with Salesforce to optimize their proxy workloads allowed them to realize a 53% overall gen-on-gen throughput gain, while also cutting their platform deployment time from 1 year down to 3 months. And all of this, of course, helps them accelerate the adoption of services both on-prem as well as in the public cloud. And this optimized software allows customers to maximize their CPU utilization, which leads to better performance per watt, which importantly helps them address their sustainability goals.
When I was running through the showcase, I saw our latest acquisition, Granulate. You saw me sweating. I saw our latest acquisition, Granulate. Fascinating products. What is the feedback from our customers?
Yeah, that is such a great acquisition. I'm really excited about adding Granulate to our overall software portfolio. We just closed that deal last week, in fact. Granulate software allows our customers, both cloud and data center customers, a very simple, automated way for them to maximize their application performance without requiring any code changes whatsoever. Customers can realize an up to 60% better performance while lowering their total compute spend by anywhere from 20 to 30% by deploying this real-time, autonomous, continuously learning automated software. We have a great example, Nihilus, a SaaS company that is running business automation software both on AWS as well as Google's cloud. And they deployed Granulate and were able to realize a 35% reduction in their overall CPU utilization or overall compute spend, including a better CPU utilization and improved response times. All again without requiring any code changes or overhead to R&D. So with Granulate, we have software that provides value for every data center and every cloud customer.
Okay, so I'm in sales. That was a lot of words. I need a sales pitch. And so can I simply dumb it down and say, if a customer doesn't use Granulate, they're throwing money out the window?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Well, we're always looking to help our customers simplify the deployment of the latest technology and get a better return on their infrastructure spend.
Okay. Okay. So what's the role of Xeon in this?
Well, Xeon is the foundation of the data center infrastructure, and this year we're introducing our 4th generation Xeon Scalable processor, codenamed Sapphire Rapids. And I happen to have Sapphire Rapids right here. This is my baby.
Can I hold it too?
Well,
No,
everybody
no.
wants this, Christoph.
Wow.
We are shipping initial SKUs of Sapphire Rapids today. And actually, with Sapphire Rapids, you not only get a leading data center leadership Xeon processor, you also imagine building out a cloud, the most modern cloud infrastructure today. You're going to need an AI accelerator, a networking accelerator, a crypto accelerator, and a database accelerator. With Sapphire Rapids, you get all of that in one processor. And we are able to then help our customers deploy their infrastructure a lot more quickly, a lot more cost effectively, with all of those accelerators built in.
So in my discussions with customers, there's a lot of discussion about what workload is going to stay on the cloud, what is moving to the edge. Is that movement to the edge the death of the data center?
No, not at all. Data centers and clouds are still going to be a key computing site, but they won't be the only computing sites. By 2025, Gartner predicts that more than 50% of the enterprise-generated data will be outside of centralized data centers. And moving compute to where data is being created and consumed actually addresses issues around latency, security, and cost, which is a great topic for Nick to address. Nick?
Christoph, Sandra, every week I talk to at least one customer who's looking to introduce edge computing, that's computing on their premise at the edge, in order to improve their business. Now, they may be excited by the possibilities that this would bring, but they're typically wrestling, perhaps struggling with some difficult questions. Tough questions like, how do I introduce more compute into the robotics that I want to automate my factory floor? How can I use AI to have better visibility into my supply chain in order to be able to control it better? Something that's very timely right now for all of us. And how can I use compute in order to better understand what is hot, what is selling right now, in order to adapt my retail business? And of course, everybody is asking, how can I stay ahead of my competitors? Because of course, they're all asking and wondering the same questions as well. So everybody is trying to think about this edge computing, but it's complicated because a typical edge computing solution requires multiple pieces of hardware, software, stitched together, sometimes in quite a complex way. And that's why Intel has been working for a number of years, working closely with partners right across the industry and with customers in order to understand the problems that they have, in order to be able to put together entire solutions that work for them and the problem that they are trying to solve. That means the software, the hardware, the tools, and building out an entire ecosystem of equipment vendors, system integrators, software vendors running on top. In fact, over the last 4 years, we've put together at Intel over 300 market-ready solutions to help our customers to get started. And those deployments are now at 45,000 deployments in over 160 different countries. And almost half of those, 20,000, were in the last year alone, right in the middle of the pandemic. So digital transformation of pretty much every one of our customers' business is driving more compute to the edge. Now, easy to think this is a bit of science fiction, because we've all seen the videos, but what is it really like in real life? So I want to introduce to you today two founders of a business that is started in Atlanta, which is bringing edge compute to embrace how you can build a new type of retail experience that is frictionless, touchless, and fully automated. So, Nourish and Bloom Market. I'm delighted to have with me on stage Jalea and Jamie Hemmings, who are the founders of Nourish and Bloom. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure to see what you've been doing. So tell me, what was the inspiration behind the creation of Nourish and Bloom in the first place?
Sure. So Nourish and Bloom started for us as a personal need. When my son was 2, he was diagnosed with autism, and the first thing we learned was the importance of diet. So we started to create a line of food called Greenie Tots that made sure that all kids had access to good food. Fast track to a year before the pandemic, we moved to Atlanta, and we all learned during the pandemic the importance of health as a collective around the world. And so we knew that we wanted to create a solution that allowed customers to be able to have access to real food and real products in a touchless way, and that was the inspiration for Nourish and Bloom.
And so how did technology play into delivering upon that idea that you had?
Well, definitely the pandemic had a huge impact on the retail space. And for us, we looked at the research, and it showed that over 80% of consumers prefer to shop in stores with touchless or self-checkout options. And so our store, Nourish and Bloom Market, we're actually on the edge of that change, pretty much. And so in our store, our consumers can download the Nourish and Bloom app. They can register, put in their payment information, and then from there, they'll receive a QR code. They can actually tap to go inside. They can pick up any item that they want and then just walk right out the store, and they'll receive a receipt. This process, it makes it easy for our customers to shop, and also it increases efficiency for our staff.
So we've been delighted and thrilled to work with you. But tell me, how is it that you got to work with Intel, and how is that partner ecosystem been developing?
Sure, it's a great question. So Intel, along with UST, which is our project engineer, played a critical role in the success of Nourish and Bloom. When you think about self-checkout, now through the use of computer vision, you're able to take products and no longer will you have to scan barcodes. You can place them on the tray and within 10 seconds have those products being recognized and be out of the store in a touchless fashion. And when you think about our frictionless solution, it's all about how do we make sure the experience for the customer has been an amazing experience. And Intel and UST really worked with us to ensure that we had an amazing customer journey, as well as improve the efficiency for our customers throughout our entire solution.
I can't wait to try it myself. So tell me how your employees and your customers have reacted so far.
Yeah, I mean, the response has been great from the community. We've actually had customers that traveled an hour or 2 hours just to come down and try out our store. The demographics is actually amazing. I mean, we have 6-year-olds that are coming inside the store and shopping, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds. But the most surprising thing for us is the older population. I have a 70-year-old customer. She has downloaded the app, and she goes in, she picks up items, and then she just walks out. And the reason why I tell that story is because of the fact that if she can adopt to this technology, anyone can adopt to it.
So what's next for Nourish and Bloom?
Well, for sure, we're looking to expand all over the country. We want to make sure that Nourish and Bloom markets are available to everyone. And we also are looking at putting Nourish and Bloom in the metaverse. So we're really excited about that. But we're excited mostly to be partnering with Intel and UST to make this possible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nick, Jalea, and Jamie. That's fascinating, and I think the future of shopping is bright. I'm not sure if I should be maybe concerned about that with all the retail therapy that's going on in my home. But we talked about all the data that is required to be entered, and there's obviously always this notion of, well, how can we secure the data? How can we make sure that it actually stays private? And, you know, what I see is a lot of studies of how important it is to have hardware-assisted security solutions. Do you agree?
Yeah, in fact, all customers, as you said, Christoph, are looking to ensure that their data is kept private and that it meets regulatory compliance requirements throughout that data lifecycle. Customers need easy-to-deploy security platforms that protect their data, whether it's in use, stored, or in transit, whether it's being moved. And we know that hardware-based security really allows customers to fortify that security platform for their data integrity and data confidentiality.
I mean, there's not a day that we don't read about another security breach or a company, failing an audit because they didn't have the right, process in place, the right infrastructure in place. There's the IBM security report, I think that gets published every year, and last year they claimed that the cost of a data breach increased by 10% year on year to an average of $4.2 million actually dollars for each of the incidents. That's the highest average cost that they've ever published in their report.
Yeah, and as I said, hardware-enhanced security really helps have more fortified security solutions that help protect the entire compute stack from the PC to the data center. And it's a key reason why we heard earlier Intermountain Health choose Intel vPro as their solution of choice. And we never stop innovating to help keep customers safe from today's constant and evolving threats, from foundational security and data protection to cybersecurity. We provide customers a trusted choice for secure computing at all layers of the stack running on Intel hardware. Customers like Swiss Re and UC San Francisco are using our latest Xeon processors to improve their data confidentiality and data integrity.
For Intel, security is such a big topic that we actually decided tomorrow to spend pretty much the entire day 2 on security. And our CTO, Greg Lavender, will do so. He will talk about how CIOs can protect in the here and now, but also to be future-proof and to thwart attacks that will come in the quantum compute area, which is a game changer.
Yeah, and we already today build a lot of protections into Xeon, including crypto accelerators and ciphers. But with a new key technology called Intel Software Guard Extensions, or Intel SGX, we can provide additional protection by keeping data and sensitive IP inaccessible to unauthorized parties or other software running in the same platform. SGX is a core technology within Microsoft Azure Confidential Computing. And customers running their applications want to ensure that their data is kept protected, particularly when they're sharing infrastructure with other application providers or where they have multiple parties collaborating together. And to talk a bit more about that, I'd like to invite Tim Fraser, head of Bosch's mobility sector, to join me on stage. Tim?
Hey, Sandra.
Welcome, Tim. Welcome to Intel Vision.
It's great to be here.
Well, with all this talk about data privacy, I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit more about how confidential computing is helping Bosch protect sensitive machine learning models.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay. So when we look at safety critical systems like autonomous vehicles, it's important to ensure that these systems actually are trained on the right standards using the right data sets. So can you outline some of the barriers to using real data sets for that training?
Sure. So when we start looking at our machine learning and the complex safety systems like autonomous, you have to train it on the complex systems. You need large amounts of real-world data, and some of that is bounded by privacy regulations. So to achieve those safety standards, it's really desirable to use a combination of real-world data as well as synthetic or obfuscated data, so that the data sets are using things like obscuring facial data in the data that we collect. So that's one of the key things to train our machine learning.
Yeah, so can you explain a little bit more about how Intel technology is helping train actual video from autonomous vehicles and making that a reality?
So we've been studying trustworthy computing or confidential computing in our Bosch research group for some time. And with Intel, we implemented a rapid deployment proof of concept, which was amazing. We were able to do it in a very short period of time. And using that confidential computing and Intel's SGX, it allows us to train our algorithms in a privacy-preserving manner so that we can use modern methods like framework methods like TensorFlow, for example. And safety-critical systems use the original data from well-protected and encrypted data sets. So security, again, is really important. The SGX, the Intel SGX, keeps our data sets confidential even during the training process. And training in the cloud using the confidential compute with Azure, it's one, more economical, and it's really a flexible way to train our machine learning.
That's great progress. So can you tell us a little bit more about what's next for Bosch in this important area?
Well, we're continuing to push our boundaries and getting ready for faster computation. One of the important elements is taking what we just did in that proof of concept, deploying that into our rapid development processes, and we're looking at use cases like our highly autonomous driving, and it's we're using our up-to-date databases, so it's really indispensable here. My colleague Dr. Stefan Gerer from Bosch will be talking more about the Bosch and Intel collaboration on this topic, so go check him out if you're interested at 1:45 today. He's in the security track that you just mentioned, so it's exciting.
Not to be missed session. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tim.
Thanks, Sandra.
Well, I think that was a great example of what is possible to be done today with confidential computing. But enough of today. Let's look forward. Let's go into the future. And one topic that Intel is working on a lot is zettascale computing. What is zettascale? It's supercomputers that are 1,000 times faster than what we have today. And I would like to invite Raja Koduri to talk about supercomputer and what is next. Raja. How are you doing?
Good.
Have a seat. Let me do this. All right. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, Christoph.
Before we talk about zettascale and the other exciting things like metaverse, one thing, my ears are ringing every day, is video. How important is video?
Super important, right? I mean, everybody knows that video accounts for a ton of the internet traffic today, right? And beyond the regular consumption of video, like the streaming video since the pandemic, right? The Teams, Zoom calls, the number of security cameras all around, and then many of our workforce has been remote desktop accessing their computers at work in the labs and all. That increased the video demand. And then on top of all of this, our desire to understand what's going on in this video, so we are running more AI analytics on these video streams as well. So ton of processing demand on video. And now we are no strangers to video because the Xeon platforms have been gold standard for video processing for a long time. In fact, practically every software stack for video processing is first implemented on Xeon. But these new use cases demand new hardware acceleration, right? Because they're real time and AI.
So I think the real game changer is that it's real time and it's 3D. Are we ready for that? Do we have solutions?
Yes, absolutely. So we've been, working on, a new GPU that covers all these use cases. So up until now, all these workloads have been delivered by multiple hardware solutions. Right? You have a GPU for rendering, you have an AI analytics accelerator, encoding, decoding accelerator. So we have combined all of this into this one Intel data center GPU. These, 4 different use cases that our customers are building data centers for. So this is the Intel's data center GPU, and it.
Did we give it a name?
Intel's data center GPU.
Oh, wow, great. That's good. So, but did I hear this right? So this is basically a data center. I mean, this has it all in one product.
It has it all, and it runs the same software stack that already exists on Xeon.
Okay.
Right. And that's actually the beauty of our one API strategy. From on day one, we have broad support for all popular media APIs, frameworks, latest codecs. And in fact, this is the industry's first AV1 hardware encoder, hardware accelerated. So that is a huge thing because it's a huge TCO advantage because AV1 brings you much higher quality at lower bit rate, right? So you can you're transmitting lower bits of data for getting the same quality.
Okay.
Right.
So it's one mighty GPU and a lot of qualitative assessment here from Raja, but let's geek out a little bit. Give us some of the specs, please.
Yeah, so, there are a ton of specs to talk about, but the key ones, right, you can stream 40 plus 1080p game streams on just a single card, right? So there's like 40 simultaneous users can get access to this card. We have over 150 trillion operations per second AI processing horsepower. So you can, while doing that streaming, you can also do media analytics, understand what's in the video. We have 32 XC cores with full ray tracing acceleration, so you can render some pretty high quality streams as well. 62 virtual instances for the folks who are looking at VMware and Citrix installations. We have the XMX AI accelerator engine built in as well. So lots of exciting specs. Like I said, this is a media supercomputer on a single chip that we have integrated.
That is great. So I'm sure our customers want it, and they probably want it soon. So when can they have it?
Yeah, so we are rolling this out to your customers next quarter. So
okay, so we're ready
to sell it.
Well, for everybody in the room this afternoon, we'll accept all major credit cards, checks, and cash. If you want to place orders, please come along. We'll try if they want it. Okay, we'll see. So enough of products. Let's switch and talk about what I lined out when you came out. Let's talk about Web3. Let's talk about Metaverse. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, so metaverse is this fictional word, means a lot of things to a lot of people, but for me, it means basically, right, that a virtual world where all the kind of the physical boundaries are erased. There are many thousands of folks that are joining this event. Imagine where they are able to get the same experience as you in this room. In short, for me, metaverse is that kind of, that thing, the full sensory immersion that we were, I'm craving for.
So in my elevator pitch again, is it simple to say that the metaverse just needs a lot more compute?
Yeah, a ton more. In fact, right, I've written a blog post in December that you're literally talking about like 1,000x more compute than our devices and you have access to today to simulate this photoreal at 60 hertz, 120 hertz, whatever the frame rates. You practically need every user needs an equivalent of zettascale compute for each user, right? How you get it is the challenge that we all have.
To solve.
Yeah, how do we deliver that?
So how would we get there?
And again, in the same blog post, we layered the plumbing for metaverse, as we called it, across 3 layers. Right? You called the compute layer, the silicon layer across devices, edge, network, and into the data center. And then there is a software infrastructure layer. How do you deliver this compute seamlessly to all the use cases, right, in real time? That also needs development. And then there is the intelligence layer on top, where there is a lot of interesting research activity going on there. I won't talk about that much today because that will take, we can talk for hours on that. So there are advances across all these 3 layers needed to kind of finally deliver the promise of metaverse.
So what are we working on these 3 layers?
Yeah,
I think in particular the infrastructure layer.
Yeah, obviously we have our entire silicon roadmap, geared towards solving these kind of advanced use cases. But one critical thing that I'm super excited that we're working on is this thing called Project Endgame, which is how to deliver this continual compute for metaverse, right?
Okay.
And,
so I think that's super exciting. How far along are we? I mean, how much longer do we have to wait to get Zettascale to me?
I can't wait to show a demo of where we are, right?
I think we have one here. That's probably what this laptop does over here. Let me move this to you.
Yeah. So the closest thing that you have today to see what this full sensory immersion is Unreal Engine 5, right? This is the latest and greatest rendering technology. And we have it, a demo from them running on this, pretty powerful gaming laptop.
It's a gaming laptop,
right? And yeah, so you already see actually this laptop saying, "Hey, the video memory has been exhausted. Expect extremely poor performance," right? On this, relatively high-performance device. And if I, try moving around here, right, it's pretty stuttery, right? It's just not a great experience. And I'll show you a little later what this entire environment is. It's a spectacular simulation of the entire city, real-time simulation of an entire city. So that's kind of what you...
That's experience today.
Yeah, that's the experience today.
Very
if you're
painful.
on road, this is not much of a metaverse,
no.
right? So,
no.
So let's...
Not very exciting,
yeah.
really not.
So let me show you now, right? I get out of this, and you see this icon here. It says Continual Compute Disabled. So I turn on this Continual Compute infrastructure, and I launch the Unreal once again here.
And what this basically does is it looks for compute power outside of this laptop?
Outside of this laptop, anywhere within the vicinity, within the latency requirements of this experience. In fact, we have a desktop box with a lot more compute available across on the stage on the other side.
So I could charge you for this. If this was my PC and you tap into it, I could charge you.
But see the experience you're going to see right now, right? So it's like a lot more smoother, right? And I can actually fly around and see the entire city, including the traffic on the freeways here, and it's actually spectacularly complex rendering with lots of polygonal complexity. It's switched on a kind of a wide frame view. So this is. This is, I'd say, kind of the lowest bar for kind of the full vision of metaverse, 4 or 5 years from now, but where we are. This gives you a peek of what we're trying to kind of achieve with this whole continuous.
So this means that if I go on a business trip, I will have that compute power anywhere I go to, anywhere, and I will be able to play FIFA from my hotel room on a weekend if I want to. Yeah,
absolutely.
That is absolutely great.
And we are actually going to do the beta testing of this continual compute service later this year. And I'm sure we can sign you up with an alpha account for the internal users right away.
You absolutely should. I'm a
before
great
we leave
tester
the show.
of technology.
Yeah, so that's what we got going on this continual compute. So.
I'm looking forward to that. So we did talk a bit about Zettascale computing, and Pat actually made it one of our moonshots, and we think that we will get somewhere by 2027. How's it going right now?
It's going very well, actually. I haven't seen our advanced technology teams this excited, in my 4 years at Intel, like all the way from the process technology folks, packaging technology folks, our memory technology experts, architecture experts. It's like when you throw them a 1000x challenge, right? Kind of the invention pipeline is flowing. So it's going really well.
Okay.
And just to give the scale of the problem, right? I have this, what is Zettascale? It is 1 followed by 21 zeros. And just this year, we are about to enter the exascale era, with 1 followed by 18 zeros, right? And
do you think we might be exaggerating? Do we really need that much compute?
Yes, I definitely need it. I don't know.
Do you? I don't know. So you think we need it?
Yeah. Like so, seriously, the computational complexity of, we have been talking a lot about AI today, and you'll see more about AI. But this neural nets, this new neural nets, every 3 to 4 months, you need doubling. You need double the compute that you have access to today, right? Okay. And that's been going on for the past 4 years. And then, we talked about metaverse and the amount of compute you need, and our continued quest in science to simulate the entire world from submicron level to the entire galaxies, right? So there's lots of uses for this compute just today, right? And in fact, more than me, right, the pursuit of this kind of scientific simulations is what led us to a partnership with Argonne National Labs to build the exascale Aurora supercomputer. So before we talk about Zeta moonshots, let's get back to the ground and talk about exascale with our customers.
Sounds
so
great.
Let me bring Rick Stevens, the Associate Director of Argonne National Labs, onto the stage here. And we'll give you an update on Aurora. Rick, wherever you are, come on stage. See you, Rick.
Oh, it's great to see you, Raj.
Yeah, so, the first question. Do you need all this compute?
Of course we need this compute.
2 exaflops, right?
We need a lot of flops. Exascale is just the beginning, but we need a lot of compute power to solve simulation problems, whether it's to predict the future climate, whether it's to design new batteries, whether it's to work on new cancer treatments, new drugs, or even to improve manufacturing or prototype the metaverse.
Yep. So, a lot of people here, including myself, right, want to know more about Aurora. Where are we on Aurora? Where are you with Aurora?
Well, we're starting to build Aurora. Aurora is made of a large number of compute blades. You can see them there. Each compute blade has 2 Sapphire Rapids Xeons. It has 6 Ponte Vecchio GPUs, all integrated with a high-speed network, and then each of these blades is connected to thousands of other blades into a switch that make up the system. This will be one of the world's most powerful systems when it comes online.
Yeah, the blades are beautiful, but how is the overall data center install going?
Well, it's been a massive effort to install it. Let me show you what we've installed so far this year as we're building it. As you can see, the system is massive. It has racks for 10,000 nodes, 60,000 Ponte Vecchios, and 20,000 Sapphire Rapids CPUs. We've already installed the Intel Deos storage system, management nodes, and cooling infrastructure, and we've put in place a validation system with Sapphire Rapids and PVC processors in place right now for applications testing. And the whole team can't wait until we get the system up and running.
Yeah, we recently delivered the validation clusters to Argonne to put in place in this excellent data center. But, beyond all the hardware, exaflops and beautiful data centers, we also want to talk a little bit about the software challenges to bring exascale. Rick?
Well, programming a machine with so many compute elements is really not easy. But fortunately, we've partnered with Intel to work on one API as a new programming model for programming the nodes on this system and across the entire system. Using one interface, we can program the CPUs and the GPUs. You have one code base. It's open, standards-based, and you don't have to change your code as you move from CPU to GPU during development. It just works. And it makes it really easy to develop lots and lots of applications for supercomputers.
You'll hear a lot more about one API tomorrow as well. And when we started this journey together, right, making exascale available to everyone, beyond the national supercomputers was one of our, vision's goals. And Rick, how are we doing on that? Or you have any updates on how we make this available to everybody?
Well, we're making progress. Of course, to drive R&D innovation in the US and across the world, we need to have more programmers, more developers that have the excitement and vision to work on large-scale scientific computing. So we're happy to announce that starting now, Aurora will be available well, you can make a reservation for academic and industrial research where you're interested in pursuing breakthroughs in science and engineering. We're taking reservations, setting up development accounts, and getting teams on the early systems to build software so that when Aurora stands up on day one, we'll have applications running.
So I can get an 2 exaflop account.
Right, we'll maybe give you a 1 exaflop account. You're not quite ready for a 2 exaflop account yet.
in there. And, you know, Rick, that's actually a huge, huge announcement, right? That, you know, that this amount of compute and this investment will be available to the broad community of developers, researchers, and partners across the whole thing. And, you know, thank you, Rick, for the partnership. It's been a long journey.
It's been a great time.
Right?
We're looking forward to getting the system
and we
up.
couldn't have built this whole thing without you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Nick, Sandra, thanks a lot for coming back to my little living room area here. Another topic that I think is fascinating is AI. And I think a lot of our customers actually are trying to understand what AI can do for them. What can it do for them?
Well, as you said, AI is increasingly critical to all customers in nearly all workloads as customers use AI to solve a variety of complex problems, including accelerating genomics research and improving healthcare and identifying defects in soil to increase yields. AI is actually even being used in your PC, Christoph, to remove unwanted background noises like barking dogs.
I could use that now.
Yeah, would have been handy the last couple of years, for sure. But yeah, so you see AI being deployed everywhere.
And you know, the emergence of the intelligent edge, which is lots of compute with lots and lots of machine learning AI inference, means that our customers are starting to bring their compute much, much closer to the data that they're generating, that they're wanting to analyze right there where it's happening.
Yeah, although we know that deploying AI can sometimes seem daunting to customers, but with over a decade of work, removing the complexities for customers to be able to deploy AI at scale, Intel is truly democratizing AI by making technology more accessible for businesses and helping them accelerate their digital transformation journey. And a great example of that is the announcement we're making today with Accenture on Project Apollo. Project Apollo provides enterprises with over 30 open source AI reference kits. And together, Intel and Accenture are making AI more accessible in the cloud, on-prem, and at the edge. And the first Apollo kits are going to be released in July.
That's super exciting. And you know, out at the edge, AI inference is transforming just about everything. Every business, virtually every industry that we work with, they're looking for ways to make their business run faster, more competitive, more innovative. And we're working with customers to design and deploy AI strategies that work specifically for them. And the heart of most of these solutions is something called Openvino. This is a high-performance AI inferencing software toolkit. Openvino enables their software developers and their system developers to write their model once to a particular API, and then Openvino takes over and it automatically optimizes it for whatever Intel AI hardware happens to be running underneath. So this allows them to mix and match different solutions. So in some cases they want more performance, in some cases they want less power. However they do it, one software will then be optimized for whatever they're happening to use. So that way they maximize the return on that software investment.
Yeah, and to your point, Nick, whether it's at the edge or in the cloud, customers' AI requirements are going to differ dramatically. Customers need AI solutions to analyze both structured and unstructured data, and they need AI solutions to scale across the entire data flow. And we really give customers that range of architectures to address their unique requirements. And by doing that, by making it easy to deploy AI, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, we bring it all together with a single open software programming environment. Our approach allows applications to run on the hardware that best meets our customers' needs. In fact, today, much of the AI data flow actually runs on Xeon, something that many customers don't know. But with Xeon, customers get the AI they need on the CPU they have.
So let's look at one good example. So John Deere, who many of you know as a manufacturer of tractors and agricultural equipment, has been open since the mid-1800s. So we worked with them on an AI solution that would help them solve an age-old problem, and that's detecting defects in the welding process while they're manufacturing that equipment. Now, the problem in the past has been this is a very labor-intensive operation. They need skilled technicians with many, many years of experience in order to be able to see that weld, in order to determine that it's been defective. But often, it happens too late, after a sub-assembly has been created or the entire product is ready to go out the door. This is very expensive, very time-consuming. So we worked with them to generate a solution where they can automatically analyze the video of the weld in process in order to immediately catch the weld defect before that sub-assembly gets built, before that product is ready to go out the door. So of course this speeds up the process, it reduces the amount of scrap material, but in fact it's kind of modernizing an entire industry.
Yeah, and my favorite part about that example, Nick, is that the AI defect detection is actually powered by Intel Core CPUs, our Movidius VPUs, our Openvino software, and all implemented with third-party solutions.
So while we're on the subject of tractors, I'm going to move now from how those tractors are built to how they're operated and how they can be automated literally out in the field. So I'm going to invite onto stage the CEO of Blue White Robotics, Ben Alfie, as well as Chris Swan from Federated Wireless. Please come join me. Great to see you. Thank you, thank you. So we're going to be learning about precision agriculture. So Ben, tell me, what was it that kind of inspired you in the first place to create Blue White Robotics?
Well, thank you for having me here. And you know, at 2050, we're going to have 10 billion people on this planet. And with labor shortage and the way we do agriculture today, bringing food to each and every one of us, it's at risk. So Blue White Robotics' mission is to create the 21st century sustainable farm. What we do, we take existing platform and transform them to autonomous. And while they operate autonomously with machine learning and AI, we collect data and use that data to increase yield, to increase productivity and safety.
So you've put edge computing right onto the tractor itself, right? So how is that real-time decision-making changing what you can do?
Well, and here comes a big partner, you guys. You know, what we found out, that those places we talked about here, increasing more zeros, but we had zero connectivity and we had zero edge computing. Okay, there is no edge computing at these areas. And what we find out now and what we did with Intel and our partners here, we created local network that enables communication and enables us to understand what is happening in the farm and to actually create this 21st century farming. This is one. And on the other side, edge computing that needs a lot of decision making, just like you talked here before, a lot of edge computing on board with decision making in places with no air condition to make it happen. And thank you for Intel for making it happen. And I hope together that we will accomplish that vision of bringing food to each and every one of us on this planet.
So I came out to a rather remote part of Northern California, to the vineyards where you were actually doing this, and I had no cell phone connectivity, yet you were uploading and downloading data from the cloud, and that was really because of Federated Wireless. So Chris, tell us about how you made that work.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, you really need a private 5G network to make it happen. And with Federated Wireless, we've been deploying Citizens Broadband Radio Spectrum, or CBRS networks, for years. Whether they're in factories that you talked about earlier, using video cameras or smart robotics, or in a field with our partners at Blue White Robotics, connecting tractors and sensors in the field. So we were able to take that technology all the way down to the tractor IoT device level, up to using CBRS, connecting up to radios on the farm,
And then those radios are connected back into a core network running on Intel Smart Edge. And then from there, we're able to connect to the internet and to all the farm's back office storage and other systems. So, pretty amazing technology and amazing partners like Blue White, where we continue to expand and do more together, pretty much every week as we innovate. So.
And tell us a little bit about how you've worked with Intel, how that's gone, what technology that you're using.
Yeah, so the technology really takes advantage of a lot of the things in the Smart Edge. Again, devices, radios, back into the Smart Edge. We're able to induce a number of things that are important for that area: security, network connectivity, and then we're really excited about the FlexRAN products. What's happening as we get to the next generation of wireless connectivity, there's going to be more devices. We have to cover more geography, more topologies that are challenging with trees and other things that get in the way. And with that, we'll need more radios and more connectivity. So with the FlexRAN products, we're able to really disaggregate some of that and hit cost points that we've never been able to hit before. And those of you who are watching the farming community and the expenses that are rising know that cost points and return on investment is hugely important to them. So, big thanks to Intel, big thanks to Blue White Robotics for making that much more realistic, and a great future for all of us.
Good. Well, it's been great partnering with you. Looking forward to many more years working together. So thank you very much.
Keep doing excellent job.
Thanks for having us here.
Thank you.
So Sandra, really cool example of how our technology is being used. We talked about AI and how most of the data flows actually run on Xeon. Raja talked about this great GPU over here. I think what is left is really how can AI data flows really run not only on Xeon, but how can we add to that through accelerators like Gaudi?
Yeah. So as you heard, we have a broad range of solutions that address the broad capabilities that customers require. But with Gaudi processors, we're able to actually address the highest end deep learning training use cases. And we see demand growing for these types of applications to deploy implementations of object detection or image classification or natural language processing. Like the Bosch example we saw earlier today, we have to train increasingly large data sets and complex models. And this can be very time and cost intensive. But with Gaudi, we're able to train those models much more efficiently and effectively. And in fact, Gaudi is deployed today in AWS's EC2 cloud, providing customers up to 40% better price performance than competitive GPUs. With Gaudi, simply put, you can train more and spend less. And I'm delighted today to announce the availability of our second generation Gaudi, Gaudi 2, our 7-nanometer Gaudi 2 deep learning training processor. And Gaudi 2 is launching today, providing customers with a major leap in deep learning performance. And to talk more about that, I'd like to invite Eitan Medina on stage to show us a demonstration of Gaudi.
Hi, Sandra. I'm so excited to show you the performance of Gaudi 2. We are connected to a Gaudi 2 server back in our data center, and I can show you a live training run from my monitor. So let's kick off the training run. We just started training the ResNet 50 computer vision model on a single Gaudi 2, the one that Sandra just announced. End customers wish to train more and pay less, so they care about two things: the cost of using the server and the time it takes to train their models. Model training depends on the amount of data needed to achieve the target model accuracy. And the key factor here is the speed or the throughput that the accelerator can process the data. The higher the throughput, the faster we can train, and the faster the customer gets a model they can use. The logs being printed on this screen show the live progress of the model accuracy and the throughput in every iteration of data. To help visualize the progress, we have on the left a live TensorBoard screen. And you can see that Gaudi 2 has already reached the steady state training throughput of almost 5,500 images per second. So let's compare Gaudi 2 to the A100 GPU. While Gaudi 2 is implemented in the same 7-nanometer process as the A100, it delivers twice the throughput for both ResNet 50 and BERT, the two most popular vision and language models. Now, we have already deployed 1,000 Gaudi 2s in our R&D data centers, and Gaudi 2 is available for our customers. To learn more, check out my session at 4:30 today, and come see the demos in the show floor. Thank you.
And thank you, Eitan. And we can see that we can use Gaudi 2 to accelerate time to train, which benefits all our customers.
Sandra, this was great. Thank you for coming out here to my living room and spending some time with me. I think we've so far showcased some really incredible innovation, and that really shows the advancements and how Intel will help businesses and entire industries to unlock future opportunities. But I think we need to pause and need to get the bigger picture and question ourselves, is this all we can do to ensure a brighter future for all of us? Partners at Autodesk are helping a group of innovators to answer that question. I would like for us to play that video.
We call our participants geniuses. Being called a genius, it's like you're here and we believe in you.
We see these young people as leaders who are brilliant and have not only the answers and solutions to the challenges they might face every day, but also to the greater challenges of our society and our communities in which we live. So we're here to try and create as many opportunities for them as possible.
Being a Black engineer can be isolating. You can feel as though you don't necessarily belong there. I really try to use my interactions with the Hidden Genius Project to change that.
Our partnership between the Hidden Genius Project and Autodesk has been tremendous.
The apprenticeship program is a combination of a lot of different things. We expose them to Fusion 360, a computer-aided design software.
We added a little personality to my drone. I call it the gold box.
Suddenly, light bulbs begin to go off. I think the most exciting part is when a couple of individuals start to understand, oh, this is how you use a tool like this. We also bring in various Autodesk employees to share their career paths.
So they're working on the sense of empowerment inside, in the heart here, as well as the kind of the skill and the knowledge and exposure that you get up here in the head. How's it going, man?
I was the technical intern to the CEO, Andrew. He's become far more than just a boss for me. He's an incredible mentor. I'm forever grateful to have him in my corner.
It's about being a cheerleader for them when they need it, and it's about being a bit of a pain when they need that too.
Hey, Sean. What's up, Zach?
We're like 3 years later, and Zach has had amazing time and has inspired other students and folks around the world to make those connections, because those connections can take you a long way.
The most important thing I've learned from the Hidden Genius Project is probably that we can do this.
That's why I stay involved, to make sure that they know this is a place for you too.
So we don't just want this to be an Autodesk story, we want this to be an all of us story.
I believe the Hidden Genius Project and the group of individuals it produces absolutely have the potential to change the world.
We hope that you all will help us help yourselves, right? Build a better community, better companies, a more just and vibrant society.
Wow. So I think this was an incredible example of how we can empower the next generation of the workforce. And I think to double click on this and share a little bit more of how we, Intel, are working with industry and education communities, I would like to invite on stage Marcus Kennedy, our GM of Intel's Gaming, Creator, and Esports segment. Marcus, come on out.
High five. Thanks for having me, Christoph. And
You know, I want to tell all of you that there is a rapidly increasing need to ensure that the youth of today have the right skills and access to education and technology to become the workforce of the future. The Hidden Genius Project is really a testament in their partnership with Autodesk to the industry impact that we can all have when we actually truly make that connection with the community. So it's time for us to make this way more broader than just that great work that you saw Autodesk doing with the Hidden Genius Project. Let's start with all the businesses here watching today, here and at home, and make it an all of us story. You know, as a business leader, I really get geeked out when I see systems get used for real-world usages, like what you saw with Raja with that Alienware system over there, what you saw in that video. But in my new role as the co-chair of the Intel Black Leadership Council, I get really geeked out about our connection to the community. And so now I want to announce our support for the Hidden Genius Project in partnership with Autodesk. It comes in 3 parts. First is an Intel AI for Youth program, which is an AI readiness program to provide mindset and the right skill set for the hidden geniuses to come out and become that workforce of tomorrow. We're going to be providing training and access to our Openvino framework. And because we can't do anything without scale, we're going to be using that to train graduates of the Hidden Genius Project to go back and do even more training at all of their locations across the US. Second, you might be wondering why I walked out here with a system as well. Well, Monster, one of our partners here, Monster Notebook, has provided 20 of these beasts of a notebook, 12th generation, so it has the hybrid processors in here to handle any workloads that these geniuses can throw at it, from the creator applications that Autodesk has to gaming or what have you. And they're going to be providing 20 of these notebooks to the Hidden Genius Project, but we had to match them. And so we added 35 Beast Canyon Nooks as well, with the 11th generation extreme gaming platforms for both their gaming and their esports programs as well. And last, because it's great to have the training and it's great to actually get them ready to go out, we're also accelerating their careers. And annually, we're going to be hiring 2 of our hidden geniuses through our Drive program to provide that real-world training and mentorship. So thank you all, and let's impact the community together.
All right, so let's make this a call to action. I would like all of you to lean in, join and support the workforce of tomorrow. The world needs it, and I really think that the kids deserve it. So let's be near now the end of today's keynote and really think about how we can impact lives. I want us to take a moment and talk about AI innovation and how we can impact next generation technologists and future developers. Last year, Intel introduced the first annual AI Global Impact Festival, and the objective was for us to help democratize AI and celebrate AI innovation. Before I ask Pat to come back out and close, I'm going to say goodbye, but let's play the video and show you the inaugural AI Festival winners. Talk to you later.
What our project eventually will hopefully do one day is be able to help patients with epilepsy know when their seizure is going to happen, and then they can prepare for it, such as to not take like brain damage from falling and things like that.
Our project is an AI-based innovation, which is named Isharno, and it uses AI and AI-based satellite and thermal imagery to predict microbial and pest outbreak.
I created Project Fatigue. My application is for drivers who are often exhausted during especially long trips. The primary task of Fatigue is to wake the driver up from microsleep phase and also save users' data, behavior data, for example. I wanted to create something new can be used in the future.
So hopefully one day it can help millions of people not have to suffer the consequences of a seizure, like the immense amount of brain damage or possibly even death.
Aspire to be someone who does make a change.
It's my honor to welcome to the stage Arnav, Max, and Niharita. Come on up. You know, it's always incredible, the basis of technology, how governance and this coming together of technology, next generation of talent, and how we can work together to make society better. And what really excites me about our three winners today is their passion about making technology truly a force for good, something to make society better. And with that, we wanted to ask each one of them to answer a question for us here while we have you on stage. And for that, what I'd like to get from each one of you, and we'll start with you, Arnav. And Arnav is we love all three of them, but Arnav is from our Arizona campus, Maricopa Community College, right next to our big Chandler fab facility. And ask each one of you to answer the question: what's the biggest challenge for the future, and how would you use tech to solve that problem? Go ahead, Arnav.
Awesome, thank you. This is a really tough question to answer because there's so many important issues that come to mind. You have issues like food security and climate change. However, in terms of scope, from my perspective, I think the greatest challenge of the future is eliminating the impact the disease has on our lives. Almost everyone in the world faces at least one ailment during their lifetimes that impacts their well-being. And of course, due to globalization, we have to take into account shared health risks now, like the recent pandemic. Thankfully, I believe that we're now at a point, computationally speaking, where advances in edge computing and artificial intelligence are going to directly impact the development of our medical technology. And this is really important because a lot of a common pattern between illnesses is that the earlier you can catch them, the easier it is to mitigate their impact on patients. So in an ideal world, I envision that we will have systems that continuously, or at least frequently, monitor for biomarkers for these diseases, so that way diseases that used to drastically change people's lives become no more than an inconvenience in the future. And I believe that Intel can power these systems.
Well, that's incredible, Arnav. Isn't that fabulous? And over to you, Max. And we have a big site in Poland, and just thrilled to have you here as one of our winners. Tell us, Max, the same question.
Every day you get up and look by the window and you see beauty of the world around us, nature, art, and I think this view is the most motivating thing in our life. And during the last 100 years, people have created something impossible for me, incredible. We start automobile car, green energy, all the machine learning algorithms which I use in my project, Fatigue. And I think we create technologies to see the world more and more beautiful. But this world has never been seen by blind people. And this is the biggest change for the future, is to blind could not only see the darkness. When they get up, they can not only feel, but also see the every piece of world. Why? Because the 310 million people who are currently blind or partially are normal people, or just like me or you, want to see their parents, their mother, their children. And I think this is the biggest change for the future. And we can solve it, but focus on connect our body with enemy world. And this is my perspective, to change the darkness to the light for those people and for our society.
Yeah, that's incredible, Max, bringing the beauty of our world to the blind. And wrapping up with you, Narika.
So I believe that the biggest challenge for the future would be to provide access to quality healthcare for everyone and everywhere across the globe. As you know, I come from a country with a massive population of 1.3 billion people. And people residing in rural areas rarely get access to quality healthcare facilities. But I do certainly believe that affordable and quality healthcare can certainly be a possibility, especially with technologies like AI. Artificial intelligence has certainly played a very important role in effective disease diagnosis during the pandemic. Several states in my country itself have launched AI-based programs that have democratized many public healthcare initiatives. We have initiatives like Arogya Setu and eSanjeevani, which was launched by the Indian government to track COVID-19 patients and help them get immediate treatments and diagnostics, all with the power of AI. I would like to leverage all these advancements in technology in the healthcare sector and take them to the masses. I would like to ensure that every citizen in my country has the right to quality healthcare with minimal efforts.
Wow. Personally, I get fired up about the passion and capabilities of technology. I get more fired up about the next generation of technologists. One last round of applause for our award winners. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very good. Thank you. Every aspect of humanity is becoming digital. Everything digital runs on semiconductors. And hopefully you've got a glimpse today of how Intel is bringing our depth and breadth of intelligent silicon, our open secure platform technologies, our manufacturing at scale, and how they will enable us to partner with you so we can focus on the opportunities and fuel the next generation of innovations that your business specializes in. You know, there's so much simply that is not possible yet. We are setting a torrid pace with our purpose at the center that we will create world-changing technologies that improve, literally improve the lives of every single person on our planet. You know, today's renaissance will lead us to tomorrow. Together, we can set a course for this new era. Thank you so much for joining us today.